Welcome to Transforming Human Consciousness. The subject of education has been one of the ongoing topics that we cover in this show, the Transforming of Human Consciousness, which is sponsored by the Baha'i Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Claremont. Education, in the principle of the oneness of humanity, we believe, is the shortest route out of poverty and prejudice. And poverty and prejudice seems to be pretty much a global issue. And today we are going to look at that issue, especially from the perspective of the children, and especially from the perspective of the orphans in the world, towards China. And I would like to introduce to you two very special guests. The president of an organization called Pride, and the vice president, Dr. Rao and Mrs. Joan Rao. And I will ask them, what does Pride stand for? Welcome to Transforming Human Consciousness.
Thank you, Keyvan.
It's so good.
Thank you.
We're happy to be here.
Thanks so much. Tell me, what does Pride stand for, just to begin with?
Well, do you want to say?
PRIDE stands for Pacific Rim Institute for Development and Education.
I see. So we are in education.
Yeah, and
Right.
the acronym is PRIDE.
Which
Pacific Rim Institute.
Just,
right.
which fits wonderfully. And I understand Pride has to do with a global caring for the children, especially orphans.
Well, we're a international nonprofit organization, 501c3 charitable organization. And we have been accredited by the United Nations and, of course, attended the Women's Conference in Beijing last year. And we have representatives going on Monday to continue that women's rights issue, human rights, and certainly the development of the rights. We're really concerned with the development of the rights of these children in the world, especially orphans, abandoned baby girls, and all of the children with all the wars that we have in the world. It's really an issue, and we're getting more and more orphans all over the world that have nobody to speak on their behalf.
That's very right.
So this is one of the issues that Pride is very involved in.
And where and how old is this organization? What did it come to be, and what was the motivation or the seed for it?
Well, PRIDE started to build it since 1988 effort, but get a government approve it as a non-profit organization is 1990. And of course, we go through a lot paperwork, difficulties to get the tax exempt positions. Then the purpose to build PRIDE is reinforcing the future cultural civilization. And when you get inside the 21st century, the direction is the merging of different culture, cross-culture.
Yeah.
In some places called multicultures. And among different countries, cultural exchange and merging process, we can categorize those all the exchange and the cross-culture as Oriental part and the Occidental part. And the Occidental part have its traditional characters from their philosophy and the tradition of a culture and a history and the people's lifestyle and the geographic difference. And the Occidental also have its character. So if the two parts through the international exchange program can merge further, then we can overcome all kind of prejudice, can overcome all kind of misunderstanding of each other, and promote the unification of the whole world.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds very much in line with the spirit of the show, actually, that we are talking about education in the principle of oneness of humanity. I understand you have also the cooperation of children in this whole project.
Yes, and we've been working with children for a long time. But recently we took a group of children to China, and of course we're planning to do this every year. This next year we'll do an academic exchange for credit. But recently we took 9 children to China with 40 adults, and we did an international cross-cultural exchange to 5 cities in China. And it was wonderful because the children had the opportunity to do a 5-minute presentation on a day in their life in America. So they were then able to share their ideas in China, and the Chinese children drew through their art, because you know China is known for its art, the great art that has come from China. And all the children drew pictures about their life in China. So we had this great exchange, and they learned Chinese songs, and the Chinese learned American songs, and it was incredible.
That seems like explanation of the video that we're going to just be watching for a few minutes.
Yes.
There is a special video of that. So
Yes.
why don't we go ahead and key into that video and enjoy the beautiful video which was made on that subject.
Yes.
And then we'll take a break, and then
And
we'll
also
come
the
back.
International Children's Year is part of that video, and I think that's really important, because here the children had the opportunity to express themselves as far as ecology and their view of the whole world, which was sent to the United Nations.
Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and take a break, and for our audience, please stay tuned, and we'll watch the video together.
Welcome to the International Children's Day celebration. This is the China National Children's Center in Beijing. The children are celebrating and preparing a mile-long mural on ecology that will be sent to the United Nations.
Sometimes when I'm sitting in my room, I think about the world and what I can do. 'Cause I'm a part of this big round ball, and I want to make a difference even if it's small. So when I'm taking out the trash, I separate the plastic from the glass. Come on, every neighbor, family and friend, let's give a little back to the environment. And the mountains, forests, prairies will be always there for you and me. And all the children in every land will be building castles in the golden sand. I love the beautiful sky and the deep blue sea. Listen what I'm saying. The tall green grass and the willow tree. Isn't it worth saying?
Now all the countries are thinking globally. Education must reach to the globe, and this is something that we are very dedicated to and interested in.
Thank you for having this interview, and really thank you for your efforts you have been doing to the kids, children.
And thank you for having us. 谢谢。
谢谢。Thank you a lot.
再见。
This is the introduction of the China Children's Activity Center.
We are so happy to be here with you today. We have come a long way.
我们今天真高兴能够来到这里，我们是从万里之外来的。
Thank you. We are not a professional group of children,
我们的话呢，并不是一个专业的团体，
but a group of children that have come together from all different parts of California
但是我们这些儿童是从加利福尼亚州各个地方来的，
because we are members of the Baha'i Faith.
因为我们都是巴哈伊的这个成员。
And we share the same belief with you that we need a more peaceful, loving, and friendly world.
我们跟你们共同都有这么一个理想和信念。
Thank Small world to the International Children's Day today.
主要是想进行文化交流，我们希望你们能够了解我们的文化、我们的习惯，我们也希望了解你们的文化和你们的生活。
And although we don't speak the same language, we do have a universal language, and that universal language is the language of music.
Okay, she has seen one of the American children she likes most. And I was 2 years old, but my mom wouldn't let me do so, just in fear of hurting myself. But I went to my grandma's home, and she taught me. Okay, now, children, let's divide into groups, and you discuss it.
Each child from the United States has prepared a 5-minute slide presentation on a day in their life in America. The children are sharing gifts as part of this exchange program and making friendships for future exchanges. The Pacific Rim Institute for Development and Education is the co-sponsor of this event with the Chinese Musicians Association and the China National Children's Activity Center.
I appreciate everything that you're doing.
我理解你们所说的吗？电视发言人，电视发言人。
谢谢。Thank you again.
Let's go.
Yuan, a very famous writer of children's literature. She is 93 years old and very prominent in China. She doesn't receive visitors very often, but is interested in meeting the children from the Pride delegation.
I think that Buddhism, we have the same goal with other religions and with Baha'i, that the world will become one. So we really appreciate these words that mean the friendship will last forever and the world will become one. And we all wish and pray for world peace. In the past 10 years, we are all making our own efforts to the promotion of world peace.
Visiting the Buddhist leaders and temples in Beijing, Shanghai, and Suzhou for a religious exchange is always enlightening and very rewarding. We always share our mutual ideas for creating a better world to work for world peace. The Shanghai Children's Palace is for children from 4 to 16 years old, a great place for learning about the arts. This is the adult center. Where everybody is participating in the dancing. The children are at the Shanghai School number 1. Xi'an dinner with the city officials. Of course, the children are always the highlight of every experience, whether presenting a lecture at the hospitals, medical colleges, or official dinners. China has 6,000 years of history and a glorious future. The Pacific Rim Institute awards you with the promise that friendship is forever and the world will become one.
Well, welcome back, and I hope you have enjoyed this wonderful video. We're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Rao and Mrs. Rao. What do you expect this exchange will bring about? What are your hopes? What are your visions about this?
PRI have organized 3 times traditional cultural exchange since 1993, 1994 to 1995. Totally bring 60 presentation in the academic level to bring present a different viewpoint about the common subject everyone concerned about. And the adult part, in 1994, when they visit one of the Buddhism university, they say, you are the first American delegation visit us. Before that, nobody interested in the Buddhism from the Western society.
But because many of the people that were with us were Baha'is, members of the Baha'i Faith. And they had the opportunity to make this trip and to give the Baha'i viewpoint about Buddha and the Baha'i teachings. And because the Baha'is accept the teachings of Buddha, they said there have been no Westerners that ever would come here that were interested in Buddha, except you people. So we thought that was really interesting.
Which really reinforces the whole concept of oneness of humanity.
Oneness of humanity. And the children, the beauty of the children was that everybody makes a friend. The whole idea is to make friends. The most important thing that we can do in the world is to make friendships. And everything starts from there. So these friendships are, we say that friendship is forever. And wherever Pride goes, it does give a plaque because, you know, there's, in China especially, always give a gift. The plaque says, friendship is forever, and the world will become one. And those are the things that we're really dedicated to. So we hope that that influence, and it does influence people, when you think that way and you believe that way, other people respond that way.
And you act on it.
And then, yes, the people that come back from China begin to have friends in other countries, and they begin to write to them, develop the friendships, invite people to come over and visit them. It's very exciting.
So really, this whole concept of exchanges, going and visiting and acknowledging the gifts of culture that
yes,
China
and the
has.
religious backgrounds, you know, that the idea that the foundation of all religion is one, to have the freedom to be in unity with all people, all religions, because this is the concept to reach out to the oneness of humanity or world peace. We have to recognize and respect each other's background, religious background, and cultural backgrounds, and so on. This is an acknowledgement, a learning, an extension, an education of all of these.
I imagine the children are, when they come back, are they sharing these with their schools? Or
Well, a lot of children, they change it.
They change.
Attitude.
Yeah.
So the parents so happy because they study hard, they have a big goal in their life. And from the China side, since 1993, when we through the friendship and the discussion, both sides opened heart.
Yes.
In 1993, the Buddhism University even showed us their holy scripture that was written by blood.
Blood from the tongue of the monks that penned these things.
And in 1994, through the academic exchange, the Chinese scholar from Chinese Academy of Social Science want to visit America to study some religions.
That's wonderful. You know, we're going to really take advantage of having you here and have another show with you just after this one. So maybe we can discuss some of these wonderful topics that within this one, particular one, we do not have the time. So I'm going to go ahead and thank our audience for being with us for Transforming Human Consciousness. I'm Keyvan Geula. And if there are any questions or comments, please contact us through P.O. Box 686, Claremont, California. This is Baha'i Faith. And the phone number is 909-626-2569. For Transforming Human Consciousness, thank you for being with us. Welcome to Transforming Human Consciousness. I am Keyvan Geula. And again, we are continuing with our guests that we had a few shows ago, Dr. Rao and Mrs. Rao, the presidents and vice president of an organization, international organization that works with the United Nations called PRIDE. Also, we're going to discuss within this program the women's conference, recent women's conference in Beijing, China, and all the information which has to do, again, with the oneness of humanity and the education that takes place as a result of these exchanges between the peoples and the cultures of the world, and these wonderful ambassadors of that exchange that we have the pleasure of having. Welcome again, Dr.
Thank
Rao
you.
and Joan Rao.
Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure having you again.
It's our pleasure.
Since we have mentioned what does PRIDE stand for, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is Pacific Rim Institute
for Development and Education.
Okay, and that is what you're involved in internationally,
Yes,
especially
international,
between China and the United
Cross-cultural, really, education
Okay.
and development. And it goes into many fields of expertise, into the high-tech industry, into training in China, training in America. We do bring a lot of government officials to the United States, and they do special training here in the United States so they can learn the American way, the American culture, and then they take that back to China to implement.
I see. And what does, well, I understand right now, for example, if a child is, by any incident of accident with a war or whatever, is without parents, what are the process and how long will it take for if loving parents somewhere else in the world would like to adopt that child? Would it be possible to do it right away? Is it many obstacles in the way? And what does PRIDE hoping to do about
Well,
that?
talking about the orphans issue, now it's become urgent issue because the number of orphans in the whole world increasing rapidly.
Right.
And those orphans is a part of a human society, but their basic rights have been ignored or have not enough care for a long time. So somebody got concerned on their behavior to be their voice. To raise up, this is a part of a human society, and their basic right is the basic of all kind of human right. That's why we concern
The right
of
to
orphanage.
exist.
Yeah.
And to live.
Yeah. This issue is not some countries particular have. Every country have the problem.
It's a global issue.
Right. And as our knowledge, the children growing their brain, 75% have been completed before the years of 2. So if the 2 years, the baby age have not been cared enough, they will destroy her whole futures.
That's right.
And from a reasonable, responsible social citizenship, become a social troublemaker. So it's important to consider those are part of our human society. When the whole world becomes smaller, they should be the first part we should care about.
But the way things stand in the world today, that if a child was abandoned yesterday, it would take at least 2 years or more before a person could help a child. And so with what Dr. Rao is saying, you could see that if a new baby was born or abandoned or part of some difficult situation, put in that difficulty, it would take that first 2 growing years where 75% of that child's brain is already developed. Psychologically and in every way, you could see how that child would be affected. And so this is a major problem in the world. When we were at the Women's Conference, we presented that the United Nations establish an International Orphans Day so that we could begin to focus on this critical issue and begin to address the major problems that are affecting all the countries. Yeah.
What are some of the accomplishments so far that you've seen, some of the stories, some of the...
Yeah. Well, some of the things that we have done, PRIDE has done in the world, it's hard to say that you ever finish and accomplish anything, because it seems that everything goes on and on and on.
That's right.
But one of the things that we did in Mexico, I think that was really wonderful, is that we were able to assist the President's office to establish a committee for disaster. because when they had their earthquake and so on and so forth, you know, any disasters that they had, they were unable to reach out to the world and get any kind of assistance. So we were able to help them establish that in the President's office, so they were geared up whenever they would have any kind of catastrophe or anything, any crisis of any kind, that they could reach out internationally to the world.
So it seems like to me like this is what a consultant would do. So you're really facilitating and consulting governments and organizations of the world to become more ready and sensitive to the needs of the children.
Exactly.
In case of disaster.
And all human beings really. We need to realize that the earth is one country and mankind its citizens. You can say that, but to many people, unless you travel and you have some kind of a purpose, a goal, where you are reaching out and making friends and really getting in touch, not traveling as a tourist, you know, not going to a hotel where you see the same, if you're coming from America, you meet your American friends at the same hotel, you really haven't visited the country, or have any kind of goal in mind. So the more that the world gets used to even partnering, and that's why we made our nonprofit organization, that business would partner with nonprofit, with a humanitarian effort, that we must develop in our life a consciousness about our business and how we operate. We must have ethics about what we're doing so that the money that we are earning from the world is coming back again and helping in the communities. Not America helping everybody, but each country becoming conscious of helping themselves.
Right. So it's about empowering the people of the world.
Absolutely.
Rather than giving them fish to eat once a day, but teaching them how to fish.
Exactly. Exactly, and people get excited about it. The more we have even traveled in the world, and we've been sitting with many major companies and talking to them about they want to do something humanitarian, but they're too busy internationally or making money that they can't think of what it is that they need to do to help. So when you come and you show them there are certain issues that really are important to different countries and different areas that need to be addressed and need their help, they get very excited.
And at this point, I'm assuming that this is a monumental project.
Yes.
When you look at it from a global point of view. What are the next steps? What are the
well, of course, the first thing you have to do in order to solve a problem, and I think you know this, Keyvan, because you're dealing with conflict resolution, right? You have to realize that a problem exists.
Acknowledge that
I think the worst thing in the world is to be ignored.
That's right. That's right. It is.
So one of the reasons that we are talking about establishing this International Orphans Day is to just acknowledge, first you have to have the acknowledgement that the orphans are existing in the world, and they, most of the conditions that they live in, these abandoned girl babies as an example, which is a major subject for the United Nations right now, which we are concerned with, and we have delegates in New York helping, you know, to make proposals about this at this particular time. These poor girl babies in most countries, girls have no rights. They are not recognized. They have no right to inherit and so on. This is what the conference in Beijing was all about. A woman came all the way to the conference with one leg blown off, as an example, you know, because in her country there are these bombs, you know, that are mines, a minefield where they live, and to go to school. These children and these parents, they lose their children every day and so on. Another woman came and she was supporting her husband all her life, and then at her husband got sick, and he died, and he didn't work, but she was the breadwinner in the household. But in that country, women's rights are not recognized to inherit or anything, so she became homeless, and all her family, they were homeless when she came home from work that day, the day that he died. You know, so people don't realize the seriousness, many times living in this country, you know, we don't realize the seriousness of what's happening all over the world. These poor girl babies, in many countries, the boys or the men are the ones that, you know, are important because the families, you know, live with the son and so on, and so they have the right of inheritance. These girl babies then are thrown into conditions where they never receive any education. There's no money to feed these poor babies. You may see in an orphanage 18 babies drinking on one bottle. You know, and then so by the time they reach the age of 2, what we're talking about, if they reach the age of 2, there's serious conditions there. And so everyone needs to become aware. It isn't something that we need to do. We need to bring this awareness about in the whole world, that if you educate a child, you know, that if the community is responsible, the world, when a child is born, the world has to be responsible for that child.
It takes the village to raise a child.
Exactly.
So we hope this petition process of to set up International Orphan Day become an educational process to educate us, among us, how to care and love each other. Start from care the orphan who has no parent, who no blood relation with us, but we love the orphan, we can love each other. From this love, we can expand into the whole world. And those babies right now is still in the same situation every day. Thousands of the baby is dying. So right now, what we take action is try to put this issue in the nation, become an urgent agenda, and additional to the platform of actions from 286 to 289. Because in the platform have different viewpoints, have action to be taken. And we hope the orphans issue become one of them.
One, because the children are our future. So that's why at our age, you know, we're grandparents, and this is an important part of what we do too. You know, we look at our children and our grandchildren and we say, look, what are we leaving for our children to inherit? What teachings are we giving them so that they will care about the world, and so on?
Well, it's amazing, and I didn't even know that we did not have the recognition of the orphans. But let's go ahead and take our break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the challenges, maybe some of the obstacles, and maybe some other accomplishments, and become more aware and in touch, and perhaps some of us could participate and help along with this. For our audience, I would like for you to stay tuned, and we shall be back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Transforming Human Consciousness, and we're going to continue this very, very fascinating conversation with Dr. Rao and Mrs. Joan Rao, the president and the vice president of Pride. We were talking about the projects that you are doing, the cultural exchanges and enrichments and the educational projects that you're doing between China and America. A thought came to my mind, and that is that China has been a communist country for many, many, many years. And the whole concept of religion, which is one of the most powerful and fascinating aspects of culture, somehow is obscure, at least in many of our minds, is obscure what has been going on in there. So,
yes. Well, you know, the Chinese pride themselves on being scientific also. So the Chinese do believe in cause and effect. But although if you use the word God in China, then the people think that you're a Christian. So they associate God with Christianity.
Or Catholic.
Yeah, or Catholic, right, yeah.
We're more of a Catholic, not all Christians.
Yeah. So, but definitely they have a concept in the spirit world and in high morals and in religion. And recently, I'll let An tell you, recently when we contacted the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences and had brought a delegation over there to present comparative religion, and also many Baha'is who presented the Baha'i teachings at that time.
As a result of that cultural exchange in 1994, so the Chinese scholar from Chinese Academy of Social Science, both in Beijing and Shanghai, they want to visit America to study further about religions, about Baha'i. So we agree, we organized their trip to America for 3 weeks. And they told us they are the first religious scholar from China visit the other countries, visit America.
So this was never done
the first time, this first time. So the result is very excited. When they go back, they report about the trips. and published paper in their magazine called Religions and Cultures.
As a matter of fact, they did a wonderful article about the Baha'i temple that you have on the wall here. They did an article about their visit to that Baha'i temple when they came to America.
She's in Chicago.
It was wonderful.
Now, were they, within the period of time that communism was in rule in China, was religion practiced in any way or shape or form?
No, no. It's only been recently that really everybody has been, people are now free to practice their religion in China, although you cannot teach religion in China. Okay.
No, you can.
Only the religions that were established before.
You can have normal religious life inside your church or temple.
I see. So,
And also try not to connect with any political activities that are against Chinese government. That's become legal. So every religious activity should be known by government, certain department.
so the respect for the government is a very crucial issue.
Yes.
Respect
Oh,
of
yes.
any religious organization is a very crucial
Oh,
issue,
yes.
which is really a fascinating
Yes.
thing.
But if you hear, I mean, if you ever made one of these exchanges with us and we got into the discussions and the subjects, you would feel that you were talking to people who had a great spiritual background, and the Chinese people are very much interested in religious principles and social teachings and ethics and a moral code of ethics. They're looking for spiritual teachings that they can bring into their schools and teach their children to have a much higher level of ethics in their dealings.
So,
Yeah, so the Baha'i teachings become very important for China, and in many of the exchanges, it has been said by the Chinese that this is, the Baha'i teachings are really a subject that needs to be studied in China, and so that's why there are many academic exchanges now for studying the Baha'i Faith.
and especially with its global outlook and universal, embracing all humanity within it, seems like there would be very little any culture would have conflict
And
with.
even the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences now has asked us in 2 years from now to set up an international religious symposium in which they would like to have all of the faiths introduced so that people would be able to learn about all of the different religions.
Which really, when we look at it, and the Baha'i principles tells us that religion is a powerful force. We can't ignore it as part of
That's right.
the civilization. I mean, how can we civilize ourselves if we do not acknowledge our
Exactly.
spiritual self and undermine it?
Right.
Exactly.
Which, in essence, when we ignore religion, we are undermining our own spiritual reality.
Yes, and this is one of the things we've had a lot of discussion with the Chinese about. They said that was one of the things, I remember the comments of one of the scholars where he pointed out that the thing that he enjoyed most when he was studying the Baha'i teaching, because they had not heard about the Baha'i teachings before, and one of the things that stood out in his mind was the fact that they did not put any other religion down. And that they gave such great respect to all of the prophets of God all over the world and all of the religions, and this really impressed them. And this concept that the earth is one country is very, very akin to Chinese thinking.
That's very interesting.
So it's an important country since a quarter of the world's population lives there, right?
Well, I would say it played a very, very powerful role for this culture and these people to consider the oneness of humanity.
Absolutely.
Because, as you said, by sheer number of them, they would make a difference in the way the civilization progresses.
Yes,
Right.
and we've had the opportunity to present and help a lot of teachers go to China. We place teachers that teach English, and also teach a particular subject in English, whether it's science, or this kind of thing, because China is very interested in learning American English right now.
Not English.
Not English, American English.
Yeah, I remember that they say Bernard Shaw says that we and Americans have many things in common except for language. So I would say the distinction. So if people would like to find you,
Yes.
they like to find pride, and they would like to get information from you or be able to find out if they could offer some of their services, is this a possibility?
Yes. We have arranged the teacher position in China, but also we have found the other position. For example, Shanghai Harbor need divers.
Divers, yeah.
Yeah.
Ocean divers.
To training their how to manage their ocean oil drilling.
I see.
And
This is technology, education.
Right. So need
technology.
an expert go there to training.
I see.
Then they're through us to searching for the experts.
I see.
And we emphasize the principle: when anyone go to China, you must love Chinese people, and obey government law, and everything is legal. So every door will open, friendships are open, yeah. And at the same time, you have overcome the cultural shock, cultural difference. You learn from them, they learn from you. That's the process of unification of the whole world. It's the process of cultural merging. Yeah. So this is the what we pride doing, just with the character of cross-cultures. Yeah. Anything have cross-cultural characters inside.
At this time, at the global village that we're living, truly it is. Everything does.
Yeah, even we do business the same way. If you cannot overcome the difference of culture, you cannot even negotiate with the contract, because the people talking different concept, even use the same vocabulary and terminology, but that means different things. Now, how could you make a joint venture, make a business cooperation? It's impossible. So in order to develop social economic project, you also need the cross-cultural exchange.
Absolutely.
So in China, we always go to dinner first. We get to know everybody first. Friendship becomes first, you know.
And eating would be
Eating
one of
is
those.
very important, like it is in many cultures. Yeah.
It's true. And that brings us to the activities that you do, travel around the country and around the world. Seems like that's
exactly. And now, of course, we live in China part-time and we live in the United States part-time. And so we're back and forth all the time, and even to other countries. But our focus, because the conference was in Beijing this last year, it really, you know, kind of focused a lot of things that we were doing. So if people wanted to reach us in the United States, I imagine you can put the address up on the screen or whatever it is.
We're going to do that.
And have a phone number, and we can be reached here. If people would like to volunteer to help with the children's project, or if people are interested, if they are experts in certain fields, and they can offer a certain expertise to China, this is very important.
Do they need to speak Chinese?
No.
Okay.
No, but they should speak good English.
Yeah, we have a lot of training program.
I see.
Training how to manage, how to finance, how to maintain it, how to write the English business correspondence, so on and so on. A lot of programs need different experts.
For instance, like the Department of Transportation sent 85 people over from different provinces to the United States because they wanted to train in the American accounting system for transportation.
I see.
And then they went back to China and implemented that last year.
It seems really that we are forming an international language of doing things,
Right.
and looking forward. The vision seems to be definitely the global.
Because originally, when Pride started out, we did a lot of training in ESL in America, and we helped. I don't know if you know the program out of Orange County called Shortstop, which is a first-time offender criminal program for youth, so that if they have broken the law once and they have to go through this process, and it's by the Orange County Bar Association, and Pride was very helped them to get their grants and get on their feet so that they could help with this issue in Orange County. And so we've done a lot of training for the criminal system, but we also have done a lot of training with corporations with English as a second language to cross that barrier again for quality control, so that people, because here you have in America the best example of what it is to have a multicultural society, and the principle of unity and diversity. how do you, but if you can't even communicate, then we're talking about an international, universal language. It seems that English is being taught all over the world, really, as a second language of communication. And so this becomes very good, and we've done that quality control training, you know, so that people can begin to communicate with each other. But it isn't just the communication in the cross-cultural, because here we have a cross-cultural marriage. We were talking about that. And even though we know and we respect each other and our cultures and that, it has to rise above your culture too. It has to come to a spiritual principle that of loving the world and humanity, that you see that love for humanity in each other. Because then, even if you do something that's different, it can be accepted.
I really thank you so much. I know the time is short, so I'd like to thank again for you coming, and thank our audience for transforming human consciousness. And if you have any questions, contact us through the Baha'i Faith in Claremont. Thank you so much.